What do you have planned for today? What do you have planned for today? Tell me your plans for today. You know, be prepared. Right? Look, right here, I'm going to show you. You see that? Right? Little subliminal messages to yourself in terms of, where you're taking yourself and how to adjust. Um, when I say there's nothing perfect under the sky, and I tell you that, you have to understand that there's always going to be things that you need to work out. There's always going to be details of life that are off. You can correct one thing and another thing and another thing, only to have a few other things in the background staring at you that need attention. And life is a juggle. You have to go and tend to the kids. You have to tend to your bills, tend to job, tend to this, that, and the other. And, that's what I'm all about. Is learning how to pay attention to responsibilities, to duties, to be on top of stuff instead of stuff being on top of you, weighing on you, burdening you. A lot of people, they commit suicide because they're in debt. Something as, I won't say as simple as that, but I would say that that's not something you should commit suicide over. But I'm a life coach. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, wisdom and understanding. If you don't have it, start praying for God to give it to you, because the Bible says that God wants to give it to you. He's eager to give it to you. He wants to. So that's a good place to start, just by asking God, you know, and He's given me wisdom and understanding. And I'm not done asking God for more. I'm not done. I haven't said I arrived. Well, no, I'm constantly saying, God, give me more. God, give me more. Because there's more. The ladder is bigger than what I've accomplished. So I would say I'm halfway on the ladder, and I have a lot more. I need more wisdom in order to get to the top. And so, okay, so like you saw what I wrote on the board there. Yesterday, me and my wife were having different types of views. Women and men, we think very differently. If you're in a relationship, you know that. And so sometimes you have to meet in the middle, and sometimes you want to know how to do that with their view on things. Is not your view, and your communication and their communication, the the bridge. You want to bridge it together. You want to understand them, etc. I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. 7 minutes. 7 minutes of letting the other person talk without interruption. Let them tell you everything. Because what happens is, a lot of the time they're talking, and you let them talk just enough until they slip up with something that they say, and you're like, nope, that's not true, because blah blah blah, and you want to input your, you want to tell them how they're wrong, etc. And so, a good method, to getting breakthrough, because this is what it's all about: finding techniques and strategies to life's dilemmas, and finding a way to peace, clarity, focus, concentration, to living sustainability, to being in a position, in a posture to where you are successful. That's what I'm all about. So, figuring out, like, okay, in yesterday's video, I talked about the insides matching the outside. So what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your mind, your thoughts, and all that will carry you on your outside. So listen, you take me to your house right now. By looking at your house, I'm not talking about the mess, but even the mess says something about you. The clutter, the mess, the organization, lack of organization, all of that speaks about what's going on up here and what's going on in here. And I bring that up because, your environment is a direct correlation of your insides. So I want to know how you're doing on the inside. So if you have demonic stuff on your walls, uh, you're creating an ambience and an environment, a house, a haven for them to dwell, and negativity will be all around you. So, if you're displaying beer bottles, you're displaying liquor bottles, you're displaying it almost like you're proud of it, then don't be surprised when the family of alcoholics, when the family of everything that is linked to alcoholics is in your house. What's usually linked to an alcoholic? Brawling. When you go to bars where you see people that drink, they're getting in like um, some of them. Some people are happy drunks, but most of them that I used to hang around with used to want to fight and stuff like that. So that's linked to alcohol. And then what's linked to that? You can talk about destruction, chaos, disorder, all that kind of stuff. And everything is linked to something else. I talked about that in another video as well. So um, if you want to learn about that, check it out. So successful living is the bullseye for me, right? What's it for you? What do you think is worth living in life if it's not for successful living, right? Because I've pondered this and I've thought about it and I've tried to dive in and I've tried to understand, like, where is the meaning and the purpose of life. Well, first of all, I think that the first thing is to feel right on the inside, right? That's the beginning of success, right? Because if you feel right on the inside, if you're happy on the inside with yourself, if you're happy with your decisions and you're at peace with yourself, then I would say that you're off to a great start. But I would say also, if that's not the case with you, then it's time to cut out bad habits, bad addictions, right? Because those are usually the things that are in the way of you feeling right with yourself and at peace with yourself. And so, if you want to be free and liberated from drugs and alcohol, which I recommend you do, because so many things are linked to that, and it destroys your life. Destroys it in every level capable. I mean, I'm talking about, wow, total annihilation. Drugs, alcohol, total annihilation of everything good in your life. Family, finances, good decisions, jobs. It destroys it all. It destroys your moral, your ethics, your principles, you know, everything. There's nothing that stays alive. Nothing. Over a period of time, everything goes down. And yeah, the point that I'm trying to make is that freedom is the way. And successful living has to do with freedom. You want to be free, and so freedom from drugs and alcohol is definitely a must. And so set it off with a prayer. You know what I'm saying? Get on your knees. I already prayed. Don't stop praying. You know what I'm saying? Like, continue to pray about being free, and then make the appropriate steps to being free. For example, put works behind your faith. Faith without works is dead. So stop going to the places where you know you're going to use, and erase the numbers off of your phone that you know you're going to call if they're on your phone. These are appropriate steps to getting clean, right? These are like the basics, right? If you know that every time you go to a specific location, you're gonna be tempted to drink or smoke or whatever, then you understand that you have to make every effort and put in energy not to go to that place, because there's a saying that says, if you go to the barber long enough and you sit there in the barber chair long enough, you're gonna come out with a haircut. So that's just a fact. You go to a place where they're drinking. No, I'm not gonna drink. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because the devil knows how to get you to drink. He'll send you your uncle, your cousin, yeah, and they'll be like, "Hey, you're not drinking? Nah, bro, you gotta drink." No, 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 I'm sober, bro. I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink. Ah, no, no, the whole thing. Before you know it, all right, a little bit. And guilt, shame, condemnation follows that, and all that stuff. So, successful living is what we're after, because it's the peak of everything. When I say successful living, I say be triumphant over every phase, over every realm, over every obstacle in your life. That's what I call successful living, right? But in order to have successful living, you have to understand that it takes labor, it takes work. First of all, it takes work in understanding stuff and figuring stuff out. you can't put an engine together if you don't know the components of the engine, right? And you have to not only have the components, you have to know where they go. And then some components to put it in, you have to be strategic on how you put it in, because it's in a specific location where you have to use special instruments to putting it in. It's the same thing with life. Certain things don't just fall into place just because, you know. And another analogy would be this: like, the plug could be. This happened to me the other day. The plug in my phone was in, but it wasn't plugged into the wall completely. It just appeared to be. And so I woke up the next day thinking my phone was charged, and it had very little battery. And I said, well, what the heck? I was charging it. And then I noticed, that I wasn't. So why do I mention that? I say that because you should always go over the same things that you've done already, just to kind of double check that everything is copacetic, kind of thing. Does that make any sense to you in terms of being thorough about your decisions, being so like directed, di- you have so much direction that you want to be thorough in your decisions, and you want to go over it to make sure that it doesn't appear to be right, it is right. It is. So when you're like that about your life, and the military does this really good. The people in the military, man, they get up, they do their bed, and they're the biggest, best example that I could frame for you to see. Like, this is the mentality of somebody that's on top of life, and life is not on top of them. And you may think to yourself, well, that's rigid, well, that's over the top, etc. These are people, in my opinion, these are people that are successful. Okay. And what's your form of success? Let me ask you that. Like, having fun, pleasure, being happy, and all that kind of stuff. I think my form of would say, like, do all your responsibilities, do everything that you're supposed to do, and then spending time with your family, sharing a lot of giggles with your children if you have any. That's my form of pleasure, right? And then also just sharing hugs and kisses with your wife, etc. Watching a nice movie, cuddling. But after your responsibilities are done, after you've taken care of business, after you've checked off all the boxes of what you needed to do for that day, right? And getting up and getting going is one of those things that it drives you. You have something inside of you that drives you to understand that when you do this, when you accomplish this, you're gonna get a gratifying feeling that, like, okay, I accomplished that one thing that I did. Now, to delay, to procrastinate, and to leave it alone is to have it in the back of your mind, pecking at you, uh, taking your peace. Now, how many of us have put off homework? I study psychology in a major university over here, and basically, you know, on those times that I don't do my homework, like, okay, there's a couple of ways to go about this, right? So in my university, it's an accelerated course. So we have class one time a week, but in that one time it's 4 hours, and it's jam cracked with a lot of work, right? So it's the work of going to class every day, but it's in one class, right? And so, like, if you wait to the last day to do your homework, you know, it's gonna be like the whole day, like literally like more than 8 hours of work. Whereas if you separate it in segments throughout the week, it's less grueling, it's less work, it's less frustration, stress, etc. And you have more time with your family and more time to do the things that you want to do. And so life itself is like this. Like, you can leave everything piling up, piling up, piling up, and then look at the monstrosity of the mountain that you have to tackle now because you didn't take care of it when it was small. And now it's like you need help. You're calling for favors. You're saying, hey, help me with this. I got to do this, and this, and the deadline is tomorrow. You can be that type of person, but I don't consider that type of person to be successful. Consider that, I often joke around. Some people are going to be late to their own funeral because they're late everywhere they go. Like, they have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock and they're leaving at 9 o'clock to the place. Like, I've never been that type of person. If I know that I have to be somewhere, um, and I know that this is not helping you when I tell you, like, oh, I've never been that type of person. Like, okay, I'm glad you're not the type of person I am, you know, the kind of thing. But I guess what I'm trying to do when I tell you is like, I don't, my heart is beating one beat at a time. It's not beating like this because I understand that I don't want to live like this simply because of my past and understanding that I lived like this for a long time. And it's those choices and those experiences that teach us and mold us and shape us into wanting to make better decisions in the future. And so if you transition and just change from bad habits of waking up late or putting things off or drugs or alcohol, whatever, if you just transition, you tweak things and you do things a little differently, you'll see better results. And you won't have to be behind the ball so much, you could be ahead. And it's a good feeling to to just be on top of your stuff and be responsible and all that kind of stuff. Do you know, okay, that I teach my mother? My father passed away, but I was a father to my dad more than he was a father to me. True story. You know, I would teach him about, being responsible and teaching him. As I got my stuff together, he didn't have his stuff together. And I would reprimand him and tell him, as, you know, trying to, and he would listen and he would follow and all that kind of stuff. His poor decisions, my father's poor decisions led him to a heart attack. It's real. Stress is real. And not only is stress real, but he died from alcohol abuse and from smoking too much, and he didn't take care of himself. So he had poor eating habits, etc. So my whole thing is now, like, I've recognized that I got to change something about myself, and that is my poor eating habits. And so I said, all right, fine. Ain't nobody perfect under the sky. Everybody's got flaws. Everybody's trying to figure things out as they go, and as they figure stuff out, you become more prudent. You become more, you're more eligible to accomplishing tasks. And so, like, all right. So I got a cycling machine, and I'm gonna start cycling, and I'm gonna start. I go to the gym every day, anyways, but now I'm gonna eat better, etc. So you modify stuff. It's not that you're gonna be perfect, but you have to put in forth the the right implementation to seeing the right results, right? And for a long time I've wanted to lose weight. For a long time I've wanted to lose weight, but I decided I want to exercise, and so I go to the gym every day of my life. But I don't change my eating habits. I justify that I could eat cookies and stuff like that because I go to the gym. But the results are not there because I'm not owning what I have to do in terms of, all right, this is what I gotta do if I want to see results, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be a sacrifice, and the flesh doesn't like it. The flesh wants to get out of it. The flesh wants to make a backdoor exit, make an excuse, make a reason why we can still do what we want to do. And the flesh does that with drugs, with alcohol, with time, with delay, with all kinds of stuff. It's just says, well, you need your rest or this or that. Like, the flesh is always making space for irresponsibility, for a place for, and so God has called us to have the fruit of self-control, the fruit of discipline and self-control. So that means that if you don't do it for yourself, ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Especially if you're an adult already, like, you're past the age of people telling you what to do. At this point, if you don't crank your own arm, if you don't bend your own arm and force yourself to do it, it's gonna be left undone, only to get other people to have to leave their life cycle of what they have going on to come and help you. And when you're supposed to already be on your way helping other people, and you see what I'm saying, like, it's unfair to other people that they have to come and help you with something that you should be able to manage on your own, simply because you're mismanaging your time, your life, your decisions, all that kind of stuff. So I say that with love, but I say that because I have seen the fruit of my own life. You have to understand that decisions, they weigh. Decisions are very important. Each decision carries a blessing or a curse. Your decisions are everything in life. Your decisions will dictate where you are in the future. In a decision, one single decision can take you to jail forever. And one single decision can make you a millionaire forever. Like, if you make the right decisions in life, you'll see the right product, right? And so everything's about decisions. And so it's like, all right, if you got a bunch of clutter in your house, what's the proper decision to make so that you can see the right results? That's what life is all about. Decision making, and using this up here to find the best route possible so that you can better your life and even others. God bless you.